Here we go. Welcome back, man. Good to see you again.
You too.
Just trying to figure out how many times we've chatted over the years, and it's been, I don't know, like 12, 13, something like that. I started at Country Music Television in Canada here in 2005.
Yeah.
And you were one of the big guests that we did when I first started at CMT.
Amazing.
And I was thinking this morning, we played a Tim McGraw song, My Next 30 Years, and I was like, that song came out in 1999.
Right.
So there's all this time has gone by.
Yeah.
My career in country music is not to make it about me, but just like it has always been so informed by your albums coming out, and you've always been so generous with your time and like coming out and talking about the projects as they go from one to the next to the next to the next.
Well, I've always felt a strong kinship with Canada from the very first time I played here. And I don't think it's coincidental that we have a lot of similarities between Australia and Canada. You know, we have a strong American influence, we have a strong UK, Europe influence, and then we mix it up with all of our local isms.
Yeah.
Canada does that, Australia does it, and of course the Queen's on the money, or the King now, as the case may be. But you know what I mean? There's a lot of connection between the way in which we process and fuse all of our input. And the first time I played here, I remember looking at the audience's reaction, and I thought, my gosh, they get what I do. Like, they get it. This is great, you know.
That's an interesting thing, you know. Just thinking about the U.S. thing. Now, your home, you're where the country music community is based. As neighbors to the U.S., we're so influenced by them all the time. Like when I was a kid, it was all the news and Hollywood and New York and everything just coming in all the time. And
same with us.
The little brother syndrome, a little bit, right? Little sibling syndrome all the time. Hopefully, if you make it big in the state, if you make it big here, you want to go to the States. Correct. It's always that kind
same
of thing.
With Australia.
Same in Australia, right?
Exactly.
Do you think that gives you like, whereas people who are born there, you know that phrase, some people are born on third and act like they hit a triple?
I haven't heard that, but I like that.
It's pretty good, right? You know, a lot of people who are born in the state, they don't realize maybe if you're from Wisconsin, or if you can use that. It's a great one, right?
It's very good.
It's a very good one.
Yeah.
Just not that there's an entitlement, but just sometimes breaking it in the U.S. for an American is like, well, yeah, that's what's kind of supposed to happen. That's what you do. But there's a little bit of an added something for an outsider to make it there. Do you think?
Well, there's a layer of struggle that you only get from having to struggle.
Yeah.
And something comes of that. It's like paying your dues. Something really good always comes of that someone who didn't have to pay their dues doesn't get.
Yeah.
And yeah, they got to shortcut the line and go straight to the front, but something will happen, probably over and over and over, that they don't know what to do in that situation. And all of us that had to pay our dues and struggle, we go, oh, I know what to do here. I learned how to do this the hard way. You know, it's like playing in the clubs. You learn how to handle people heckling you, yelling at you, throwing things, whatever it is. You learn all of this stuff of resilience and fortitude in the clubs. I did, at least anyway, in the clubs. So when I worked my way up to slightly bigger places and bigger places and bigger places, I felt very grounded in doing those things. And to your point, extremely grateful for where I was at because of how hard it was to get there.
Eric Church, as I drop another name, said that his struggle to get, obviously one of the best in the biz now and has been for a while, but his trajectory was kind of long and a slow simmer and a slow boil, if you will. And he said, obviously with hindsight now, that he wouldn't have had it any other way. Yeah. That it made him appreciate again what it eventually became and what it is now. But that, you know, having a number one out of the gate obviously is a dream, and a lot of people can realize that, and maybe it's amazing. Sustaining that's tough, but having that, building up your chops over the course of years, like you said you did in the clubs, that allows you to be able to deal with the time that your pedal doesn't work, or that the mic goes down. That's right. Or that you get heckled.
Yeah, and there's also if you've got a particular unique thing that you do, if you're trying to fuse things together because you have an original approach, it sometimes takes a while for that to come together and form in just the right mix and balance. In the case of Eric, I think 3 records took his 3rd album, really, for him to finally go, I know who Chief is. Yeah. I'm actually going to call the record that. I know what my sound is, what my songs are. I know who I am. It's taken me 3 records with Jay Joyce, with his producer, to finally have it all align and come together. And I feel similar. I think it took me at least, a couple of records to sort of distill it all and get it focused.
I get the sense that you're discovering new things about it after every project that you engage in, though.
Constantly.
Like still,
I don't feel
right?
that much different from when I made my first record.
Really?
In certainly in the same way I approach it, studio's a blank canvas. Go in there and just start having fun, creating, discovering, exploring, experimenting, and then see what happens. And then whatever feels good, keep that. That's it.
To go back to the baseball thing just for a second, they say that that's a crazy thing about that particular game, and that it's been played for over 100, whatever it is, years now, but that you can see something for the first time when you go to a game, something that's never happened before, like an out being thrown from right field to the second baseman. That's something that's never happened before.
Right.
Is that possible in music as well? I know new songs get written all the time, but you discover new things that, wow, I've never done that before. That chord. I mean, people there's only so many chords you can play. Is that true?
Well, I think that a chord is only ever just one part of what you're hearing.
Yeah.
The way in which you strike the chord, which emphasis of what fingers within that chord are making the chord have a different resonant, whatever,
multitudes,
right? It's
yeah.
like, it is complex, and everything goes into it, for sure. It's amazing. It's endless discovery.
That's always been a thing I've noticed about you. You always seem like you've talked to me before about listening to new artists all the time. That you're always plugged into that stuff. You've never been bored by music.
Oh God, no. I don't know how you get bored by music. I think boredom is such a, and I'm just going to start. I think bored is a really selfish word.
Yeah.
There's so much to do, even if you've got nothing. I mean, at least you've got maybe your imagination. If you're bored with your imagination, then maybe give it to somebody else.
Yeah. So what did you? We can talk a little bit about High then, and this we'll use recency bias. The journey of High. I mean, forgive me for paraphrasing you, but there was another album that you had delivered, and then decided that you weren't going to use that one. Maybe that was the Speed of Now Part 2. I don't know.
It was called 615.
615. That's right. The Nashville zip code.
Nashville's area code.
Yeah,
and I just I made the record and just wasn't happy with it and scrapped the whole thing. I kept 4 songs off it and scrapped the rest, which I'd never done before.
Right.
I've never had to scrap a record, but it didn't feel right.
Well, you didn't have to do it, right? This was like a team decision. You were like,
well, it's always my decision.
Yeah, right. Right.
So, no. It would have been so much easier to go, it's fine.
Yeah.
There's 4 good songs on there. Let's go. Let's keep the train humming. Let's just shovel the coal and keep the thing moving. But I really wanted to make a record that felt really good to me, and that one didn't feel the way I wanted to feel.
Okay, so we've all been living with High for a little while now. How are you feeling about it now that
Really
it's been out for a few months?
Yeah. And particularly because I think the songs are so built for playing live.
Yeah.
Which is consistent in most of the records I've ever made. It's always got loads of songs that are really built to play live.
So this discovery thing that you can do in each project, whether it's like, again, the way that you attack a chord that you've played probably a billion times in your life, right? What were some of the things that you discovered maybe about yourself or about music or about the songwriting process, collaboration, or whatever it was this time around with High?
That if I don't have a preconceived idea, it tends to work better. All the records I've ever made, and Dan Huff, who's worked with me through most of them,
legend
as my co-producer, will testify. If I show up at the studio one day and we're going to record a certain song and the band's ready and we got the charts and we're going, but on the drive there, I just don't feel like I don't really want to do that song, and I think of another one. I'll scrap the whole thing and just go, hey, forget that song, we're going to do this one, and then we'll quickly learn that song and do that one. The reason why that always works is because it keeps this spirited, fun, passionate, joyous thing about what we're recording, as opposed to, well, I don't really want to sing this, but this is what we'd planned to do, so let's do it. Like, if you don't have to do that, it'd be like showing up to your job, whatever your job is, and the particular task that you were going to do, you don't really want to do that, but in most cases you have to do it even if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Imagine if you could go, I don't want to do that one, I want to do this other one. That's my job. And I'm really lucky, and I want to make sure I stay in that place.
I forgive the name dropping, but I do remember getting in slight trouble with Brooks and Dunn once for asking them about writer's block. And they're like, great, now we're going to get it, now that you mentioned it. You know, never mentioned that. But you say...
I had a great thing about writer's block where... Because I feel like I've had that at times, and I said to someone, I just don't have anything to say, and they're like, writer's block is not that you don't have anything to say, it's that you have so much to say, you don't know how to start.
Yeah.
Everything's trying to get out this tiny little hole, and it's jammed. So just pull out one little thread of anything, and just get movement going, and then the rest will start flowing.
Oof.
So I think that's what takes it back to going to the studio, and if I don't really have anything to say, just play. I mean, I say this to musicians over and over again, don't forget the word play. Yeah. We play the guitar, we play a show, we play music, we play. It's playing. It's meant to be fun, even if you're not good at it. Like if you pick up a guitar and you kind of suck at it, but you love doing it, it's because you're playing. And if we forget that bit in the midst of the music business and all this BS, then suddenly the tail is wagging the dog and the whole thing's out of kilter.
I love it, man. I mean, to have the balls to just say we're going to put that album away and go, and to know that you're going to be able to be inspired again, and that it's always there, that tap, if like you've got this insight into writer's block or whatever, to know that it's always there. It's great trust that you've got in yourself. And I guess that comes with time. It
was so hard to do.
It was?
Because I'm basically saying, scrap all this. I'm going to start from ground zero all over again. Yeah. We're not going to tour next year. We're going to tour in 2 years, because it's going to take me 6 months to 9 months to a year to make this record. And then we're going to promote it. And then we're going to... So I could see this domino effect of this one little decision. That doesn't have to happen if I just say, just put this one out. Yeah. It's got 4 good songs on it. We're good. Let's go, you know. But I know that in 2 years' time, I will wish that I'd not put that record out and had the courage to just take the time to do the one you wanted to do.
It's a good story. Never mailing it in, ever.
I never phone it in. Ever.
No, ever. That's so good. High is a word. It's a cinematic word. It's a romantic word. It conjures things, right? A lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
Like we're doing a contest, and I'm like, text the word high, not high, but high, H-I-G-H, right? When you're calling in. Yeah. And what does this mean now in the context of, just thinking about it and thinking about talking to you about it? You've given people contact highs from seeing you perform live for decades now. This is what you do. You go around the planet bringing joy to people. Every single time that they come out, you're at work. Every time they come out, they see you. You give them that high. I'm sure you experience, obviously, some of that, maybe tenfold. But what does that word mean to you?
It means a better place.
Hey, let's go.
It's a better place than where we are. It's a better feeling than what I just had. How we all get to that place and that feeling is where the differences come in.
Yes, sir.
But we're all in agreement that we're going for a certain place. We want to get to a certain place, and we want to achieve a certain feeling. That's what high is.
It is. It's interesting reading about the different ways that people do achieve these things. If we give our body artificial stimulus, then our body stops creating it naturally. Right. If you take, but music is a way that you can do that in a non-chemical way. It is a way that people truly are transported. You see the, almost in a revival-esque way. Right. People, when they're at a show, sometimes actually closing their eyes and just listening and stuff. And it's transporting and transformative. Have you wrapped your head around the fact that there are so many millions of people now around the planet that have been taken to that spot because of your art?
Well, I do, in the sense that I get to be a part of it too. Yeah. Like when I play for those 2 hours on stage, I'm trying to get to the same place that the audience wants to get to. Yeah. We all want to go to the same place. I'm just bringing the boombox. Yeah. That's the only difference.
Well,
but I mean, in the sense that I'm trying to get to that place myself. Yeah. My job that night is to try to get myself to that place and the audience, so we all end up there. It's not me and you, it's just us.
Yeah. You get there in studio as well? Are there moments of elation in studio?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it's that amazing place of being completely aware and completely lost in the moment simultaneously.
I would like to, if you don't mind, just talking to me a little bit about a straight line.
Yeah.
This is a song I was fortunate enough to be able to see you perform live. You broke down kind of where it came from and stuff. What does this particular single mean to you right now? Where it came from and the idea of it?
It's the opening track because it's part of the same ethos of High, which is getting out from under your dark cloud and getting to a better place, even if it's only for 3.5 minutes. All of us have obligations and things we have to do, boxes we have to check every day, and it's very easy to fall in. I mean, looking out at the skyline in Toronto, downtown Toronto right now, there's just a mass of city blocks and buildings and work. And there's people getting woken up by an alarm clock way earlier than they want to, and they're just going to work and surviving. And at some point, you're like, what happened to my life?
Yeah.
I used to have more fun, and then you're like, I used to be more fun. What happened to me? I wonder if I can get a little sliver of that back into my life. And sometimes you can do it just through a song. So even if it's just for 3 minutes and 46 seconds, you can put a bit of blue sky back in your life.
The people that I know who love your music so much, that's what you bring to them. That's what they say you do. That's what your music does for them. It elevates them, but it also grounds them.
Well, good. That's a good combination.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, thank you. It does it for me too.
It does.
I think people, I've thought a lot about all the sort of up-tempo positive songs I've written in my career, and I started to think to myself, geez, I must seem like the happiest, luckiest guy in the world without a care, and you know what I mean? And I'm like, my life hasn't been like that. Why did I write those kinds of songs when my life wasn't like that at all? And the expression whistling in the dark. Yeah. You've got a kid walking through a cemetery late midnight, it's dark and it's cold, and you're walking through a cemetery and you're terrified, so you just start whistling to lift your spirits and have you feel like everything's okay, it's okay. Most of my songs, I realize, I think are whistling in the dark songs. I wrote them to keep me buoyant, to keep me positive when I wasn't positive. I wrote them to try and lift me up and keep me moving. So if those songs do that for other people, that was why I wrote them for me as well.
We'll look out for songs called Whistling in the Dark.
That'll be the next
coming
album.
Up very soon. Very good. You're going on tour. Chase Matthew, Alana Springsteen, obviously Yvette, who's
Carly
coming
Scott
out on
Collins.
road with you. Talk to me about them.
Yeah. And again, all just unique individual artists that have a different take and a different way of creating music, different personalities. But they're all bringing a really good spirit of being in the moment and bringing everybody up out of their funk. I think it's going to be I think the tour name is spot on. I think High and Alive is what we're going to achieve.
I'll get killed if I don't talk to you just briefly about guitars. So inextricable from you. And I've just always noticed that it's almost like a call and return every time you and a guitar. It's like back and forth, back and forth. Like an athlete sometimes gets the yips, if they're playing golf and they just can't hit it right, or they're a hitter's going through a slump. I know these sports metaphors maybe are exhausting, but have you ever forgotten how to play for a second? You're like, oh my God. I mean, that sounds like you know what I mean? Like just some sort of a thing that goes on and you're like, just not feeling right now for whatever reason.
Yeah. It's like, watching a phenomenal quarterback throw the worst pass.
It happens.
Like, what was that? Or an Olympic downhill skier that falls. And the great thing about those moments is you're suddenly reminded, oh yeah, that's really difficult. Like when they make it look so easy.
You do make it look easy, man.
But I love being reminded, like, oh yeah, this is hard to do.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay to collapse every now and then. Most of those things happen to me when I become too cerebral, when I find myself aware of what I'm doing.
That's what they say. That's what the athletes say. You got to think. You got to be aware of it, but don't think about it too much. Or you'll get in your own way.
If the bird thought about landing on the branch, it would miss, because the bird would be like, "This is complicated." So don't think. Just land on the branch.
Thank you. I'm getting the sign. Keith, amazing, man.